Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Faria Bukhari. I'm here right now at Karachi Press Club and I'm doing a live protest against the hegemonic agenda of Biden administration. I've been campaigning against the Biden administration's unofficial launch of a unholy crusade. They call it holy, but technically it's an unholy crusade, like all the previous crusades that have been launched that have destroyed humanity. Biden instigated the current Middle Eastern skirmishes and the conflict because he was losing miserably in his polls. He was losing in polls against the opposition. 53% of the American people disapproved of Biden administration. Biden is running to be re-elected as the President of the United States. His investors felt nervous and decided to push for this unholy crusade against the people of Palestine that is anticipated to include all of the Middle East, include not just the region of Palestine, but Iran, Saudi Arabia, most of the Gulf states, and even Pakistan, where I'm today. We have all heard about the Greater Israel Plan, the Yunon Plan, that they've been trying to impose upon the rest of the world for all these years, that Pakistan army has been trying to fight. Pakistan just got blasted off in Mastung and in KPK. Twin attacks. When did that happen? On the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Who did it? ISIS did it. ISIS was dead. ISIS had been eliminated. Where did ISIS come from? Israel reawakened ISIS under the directions of the congressman currently sitting in the US government. Why? Because of the Greater Israel Plan. Then we see a blast happen in Ankara, near Ankara's parliament. Who does that attack? The militants that want to create an independent country called Kurdistan out of 3 Muslim countries: Syria, Iraq, Turkey. Again, in a bid to create the Greater Israel Plan. Then what happens? The Syrian military academy is bombed with drones and 100 Syrian kids are assassinated. Who did that? Israel did it in collaboration with the corrupt US congressman. And then what happens? As if this was not enough, the Biden administration downs the drone of its own NATO ally, Turkey, in Syria, knowingly that this drone belongs to its NATO ally, Turkey. Why? Because Biden administration has been funding, arming, sponsoring the Kurds to create Kurdistan, to break up, amputate 3 Muslim countries not just one, three Muslim countries, Syria into two parts, amputate Iraq into Shia and Sunni Iraq, and amputate Turkey and combine them all to form a Kurdistan that they can control. They wanted to create a greater Israel in Afghanistan, and we saw what happened. They did 9/11. Israelis did 9/11 in order to justify invasion in 7 Muslim countries. Never forget that 9/11 was not because of an explosion from an airplane. 9/11 happened because of controlled demolition. This has been a proven fact by the leading engineers of the world. Most of the Americans today believe that 9/11 was an inside job committed by their corrupt government in bed with the Israelis, who were found dancing in New Jersey. There are declassified FBI documents that are proving that Israel had foreknowledge of the 9/11 attack. Imagine the close ally of US, Israel, who has foreknowledge of 9/11, decides not to tell the American government that your Twin Towers are going to be bombed. And then you find 5 Israelis linked to Mossad dancing in New Jersey that are captured by the FBI, and then their file is shelved. And years later, these documents get declassified and prove that Israelis knew about 9/11 and they were dancing to it. So the Muslim world did not do 9/11. It's a point proven by now. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq before the Bush administration decided to invade Iraq. 1 million Iraqis were killed. Guantanamo Bay, there are horrendous tales of terror committed by the US Army, by the NATO Army, against people who did not even commit any terrorism. Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay, it took us years to get prisoners out of them. And now, because there is only 1 year left in the presidency of Biden administration, his investors like George Soros, his collaborators like Hillary Clinton, who are technically running the White House, decide to go for an unholy crusade against the Islamic world. They want to instill fear in the American people. They want to scare the American people of Hezbollah and Hamas so that they can win with the politics of fear. Americans have been bluffed in the past with the whole weapon of mass destruction story that prompted them to be convinced that Iraq invasion was legit when it wasn't. An entire country was decimated. We still have classified files of 9/11 that have to be disclosed to the rest of the world to clarify who did that historic event that gave the justification to the American army to invade not one country, but try to invade, decimate, destroy, colonize, occupy 7 Muslim countries. Biden administration has instigated the current Middle Eastern crisis and has the plans to not just keep it within the territories of Palestine. Biden plans to go into the rest of the Middle East and all the way to the Southeast Asian countries. It is a global domination, one government agenda. And there is a religious word for it that they're using to convince their extreme right voters that this is a holy war. Lindsey Graham just reiterated that this is a holy war, that Israel is currently fighting a holy war for the American people. What does that tell you? That the deep state, that the Biden administration has launched an unholy crusade to try to save its butt, try to get its polls up. Its investors want to accomplish the Greater Israel Plan as soon as possible within the next year, because there's no guarantee that Biden is going to come back and they can't take a chance. So they create a situation where one after another you see escalation of violence in the entire region. Biden is paying the Kurd militants to break up 3 countries, Syria, Turkey, Iraq. Biden has ministers, congressmen, congresswomen who are supporting ISIS to destabilize Afghanistan and Pakistan, to keep the region perpetually destabilized. Biden wants a war. Biden wants complete disruption of peace in the entire region. And he has no regard for the lives of children and women who have just been martyred in the brutal attacks of Israel in Gaza. We have more than 1,100 Palestinians martyred, bombed by Israel. And Biden administration is standing right next to Israel in this genocide. Even though the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner has openly said that Israel has no right to withhold the water, the electricity, and the basic supplies of Gaza, Israel has converted Gaza into a brutal prison. And not just that, it is trying to flatten all of Gaza and then do an on-ground incursion. And the whole world is watching, because the mainstream media is trying to sell them stories like they did before the Iraq invasion. The same stories that happened in the aftermath of 9/11 to serve the same purpose, to have one government, Greater Israel Kingdom, all the way to do a Muslim genocide. They did an Iraqi genocide. They've been doing a Palestinian genocide. They've been doing a Kashmiri genocide. And now they are not happy because they want complete obliteration, complete eradication. complete elimination of Islam. And who is the mastermind? Let me give you the names. I'm going to take their names today because they are all genocidal terrorists. They don't deserve to be global leaders. They should be prosecuted by their own people. The first one, the biggest one, is Joe Biden. He's terrorist number one. Terrorist number two, Rishi Sunak from the United Kingdom. Terrorist number three, Olaf Scholz from Germany. Terrorist number four, Sergio Mattarella from Italy. Terrorist number five, Macron Emmanuel from France. Terrorist number six, Ursula from the European Union. And who is the ultimate genocidal terrorist war machine of these six terrorists? It's Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel. Today, the paid advertisement of the mainstream media is trying to sell to the masses that Israel is trying to commit self-defense. So it is self-defense to assassinate 240 little children. We have heard that before, but guess what? The world is not willing to buy that from you. The world has rejected the lies and deceit of these terrorists. People are organizing all over the world. In the United States of America, the streets are flooding with pro-Palestinian Americans. In United Kingdom, the streets are flooding with pro-Palestinian British. In Italy, the streets are flooding with pro-Palestinian Italians. In France, the streets are flooding with pro-Palestinian French. In the European Union, the streets are flooding with pro-Palestinian Europeans. We are talking about millions and millions of people who support the right of self-defense of the people of Palestine against the Israeli aggression. And there's nothing you can say or do that's going to change their mind now. They have seen 7 decades of bloodshed of the people of Palestine at the hands of your corruption and your terrorism. And now they know who's the liar and who's telling the real truth. The masses today, united, firmly stand with the people of Palestine. And if you try to dictate your orders on your own masses in US, in Europe, in UK, you are going to be prosecuted for trying to commit martial law, for trying to impose communism in your own states. You will be tried, indicted for treason, for committing treason by going against your own country's constitution that calls for human rights respect. The Constitution of the US, the Constitution of Europe, the Constitution of UK does not condone to baby killing that is currently happening at the hands of the Biden administration at the hands of the European Union, at the hands of the UK government. The constitutions of European Union, the constitutions of Britain, the constitutions of UK, US, and most of these Western countries, they are supposed to follow the United Nations human rights resolutions. And by condoning to the current aggression of Israel against Palestine, these global leaders are breaking their own country's constitutions. They are violating the United Nations peace resolutions. The two-state solution is dead, is done. There is no two-state solution. The two-state solution was killed, assassinated, murdered by the United States of America, by its NATO allies, by using its war machine, Israel, that's a genocidal terrorist against the babies of Palestine all these decades. It is not the people of Palestine who killed the two-state solution. It is not Hamas who killed the two-state solution. It is not Hezbollah who destroyed the two-state solution. It is the US government. It is the British government. It is the European Union that killed, destroyed the two-state solution. How? By condoning to unchecked, unmonitored, unstopped aggression against the civilians trying to save their lives and livelihoods from the IDF, from the persecution, oppression, subjugation of Israel. You cannot say that you want a two-state solution when you unleash your terrorist war machine Israel onto civilians, children, elderly, babies. You are trying to play dirty games. You want deterrence from the Muslim world. You want to give them a lollipop, a sleeping pill, that you do believe in two-state solution, while at the same time you have your US warship sitting in the waters right next to Palestine. How can you say that you want a two-state solution and at the same time push for a war against unarmed babies of Palestine? Can you answer this question, Biden? Can you answer this question, Sunak? Can you answer this question, Ursula? Can you answer this question, Macron? Can you answer this question, Scholz and Manuela? Do you have an answer to that? You are not interested in a two-state solution. You want complete annihilation of the Muslim race because that is what your investors want you to do. You're doing it against the constitution of your own countries. You're doing it against the International Human Rights Charter. You're breaking not just your own state's laws. You're committing fraud. You're committing corruption. And you're trying to impose a draconian communism in US, European Union, and in Britain. What did Macron do to the French people the other day? When the French gathered in the streets to fight for the human rights of the Palestinian people, we saw what Macron did. He threw shells, tear gas shells on them. And we are seeing what most of these hypocrites and corrupt leaders are doing right now. They're stripping the right of the American people and European people and the British that gives them the right to orchestrate their civil liberty, to be able to practice their free speech without any repercussions or crackdown. Macron, Rishi Sunak, Biden, Scholz, Mattarella, Ursula, they want to arrest the civil liberties of their subjects by calling them anti-Semitic, by making it illegal to protest against Israel, by making it illegal to protest against their terrorism. What is this if not communism? What happened in France the other day is happening in the so-called free world, where democracy and human rights are practiced. You blame China and Russia for going against the will of the people. What are you doing right now? You are worse than Russia. You're worse than China. American people, European people, British people do not want your unholy crusade against Islam. They are not asking for it, but you are imposing it on them against their will, against their wishes. And you call yourself democratic? Seriously? If this is your version of democracy, what would be communism? What would be draconian, totalitarian, authoritative dictatorship? Biden is a dictator unless proven otherwise. Ursula, you are a dictator. You're not even elected by the people. Rishi Sunak, you were not even elected by the people. You are a dictator. Olaf Scholz, you are a dictator. Sergio Mattarella, you are a dictator. Macron Emmanuel, you are one of the worst dictators. For you, free speech is only when blasphemy is committed against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when the sentiments of 2 billion Muslims are hurt. That is free speech. But when French people try to come on the streets to confront you over your unconstitutional decision to support Israel and unleash the genocidal terrorist onto the civilians of Palestine, you throw grenades on them, you throw tear gas on them, and you try to arrest them, and you call this democracy. You are a certified dictator. I humbly request the American people, the European people, the British, to prosecute their leaders right now, to confront their leaders, to practice their right of democracy and freedom, to practice their constitution and petition Biden, Macron, Ursula, Scholz, Mattarella in your court of law as war criminals as traitors, as corrupt leaders who must be indicted for overriding your will, your free will, your democratic rights, your civil liberties to decide if you want to stand by the side of Palestinians or if you want to stand by the side of their war machine, genocidal terrorist Israel. They are killing the two-state solution right now. And they've been killing it for the last many decades. And it's gone. It's dead. It's no more. The Palestinians are trying to survive. Their self-defense is their basic human right. Otherwise, they will die. They have been getting killed, ambushed, assassinated, abducted, maimed, mutilated for the last many decades, unchecked by the world. If you strip them of their right of self-defense, then you're actually condoning to the terrorism bestowed upon them, imposed upon them by Israel and your corrupt governments. Your governments are terrorists. They are committing state-sponsored terrorism against the babies of Palestine right now, and the only people who can stop them are you guys. Before I end this speech, my last message to all my dear friends in the US, in Europe, and the Britain is, I'm in Pakistan today. I'm standing over here in Karachi. You all know Pakistan is a nuclear state and has always restrained itself whenever being thrown into an escalated situation against India. Because Pakistan does not want a nuclear war with anybody. But having said that, a recent Israeli minister the other day recommended that Israel should nuke Gaza. I'm reiterating and re-quoting that Israeli minister who said that Israel should nuke Gaza. I'm standing over here in Pakistan, and I'm telling you, Pakistan Army is with me on this. No questions asked. But this is a message for all my civilian, beautiful, peace lover friends in US, Europe, Britain, and also for the unholy crusaders, that the nukes of Pakistan are categorically the nukes of Al-Quds. The protection of Al-Aqsa is the duty of every armed soldier of Pakistan that has his or her hand on the nukes of this country. I'm not giving a warning. But Al-Quds has already received this warning from an Israeli minister. I'm relaying this message to the unholy crusaders and 99.9% of Pakistan stands with me on this, and the Pakistan army stands with me on this, that Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa is the red line of this nation. And while we do not want to use any nukes anywhere, we would have used them a long time ago if we wanted to against India, but we never did. At the peak of our wars, we never did. We always sought dialogue and peace. We are still seeking dialogue and peace. But here is my response to that Israeli minister. That do not think that the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine, do not have any nukes. They have categorically the nukes of Pakistan with them. Yes, Pakistan's nuclear power stands firmly united with Al-Quds, with Al-Aqsa, with Jerusalem, and with the people of Palestine, with the babies of Gaza. So before you think about nuking Palestine, remember this, that Pakistan's nukes are the nukes of Al-Aqsa, and there will be a response if you even tried such a misadventure. Bye-bye.